Well, there you go. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Supporters Group Zoom call, September the 2nd. We have Ron on the call today. Thanks for coming, Ron. So we thought, in terms of a running order, if you could just give us an update on where you are with faucets, planning, etc., and anything else you want to. But bearing in mind the time, let's try and keep everything as short as possible. Then I think we'll probably have some questions on some things you say, and then we'll do a similar thing with Tom to focus on Matchday activities recently, ticketing. You know, some of the things we know have caused some issues and problems, etc. If that's okay, that's how we'll start. But first of all, Ron, would you mind if you? How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'd be a lot better if we won a few football matches, but working on that too. As regards faucets, the news is very positive. I'm not going to be critical of the council because I know that they've got their interests in heart, but also that of the club as well. They want to see the club move and thrive. We've been trying to get to a planning date for some little time. The last time I was on this call that we had identified, and this is in liaison with the council, the 23rd of June, that came and went. And it's because we've been jointly wrestling over some of the planning conditions, of which there are 88 of them. 87 were agreed by mid-June, but one of them, which is most difficult probably to construct, has taken us a long time. But I think that we are very, very close to accepting the position, and that means that the council can then go to a special planning meeting. We're targeting the 15th of September in our minds. The council haven't agreed to that, but the planning officers believe that they will get there in September, was the words this morning. So that's where we are. I think in the next, hopefully 2 weeks, we will have a resolution that we'll be happy with, but I can't comment on what the members will say, but that's, we have been very positive on both sides about where we're trying to get to. So I don't think anyone's got anything to be concerned about. If the members approve the club's plan application, it will be referred to the Secretary of State. And there's something called a challenge period of 6 weeks, whilst we are dealing with the 106 issues, which is a legal document between the club and council to make sure that everyone complies with the conditions. So that's where we are. I can't say much more than that, because if I was say I was disappointed, which I suppose I am a little bit with the time frame, that might be construed as I'm disappointed with the council and plan officers, and I'm not. I think we're working collaboratively with them to get to the end position, and we're almost there. And I think that's as much as I can really say.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Any
one thing I would add, though, we've been running the tender processes in parallel. So although the council resolution may be behind the curve as far as we're concerned, it hasn't interrupted our construction program. So we've continued to progress that at risk in anticipation that we'll get to a positive resolution and we can maintain our program as we plan. That would see us started on site for the new training ground in January, and then vacating an existing training ground in June in the close season, and then we'll be starting construction of the stadium. So that's where we are.
I mean, that sounds quite aggressive, bearing in mind the timescales over the last 20 years. That's good. That's a positive thing, by the way.
Yeah, positive, not aggressive. I think that if we were from a standing start waiting for a resolution and a Section 106 to be signed, then we probably would have many months delay on that, probably even up to 9 months. But we're ahead of the game, so we're pretty positive. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Ron on what he's just said? I've got a couple of other questions for Ron that have been sent to me. Okay.
Look, I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna break off at 7.
Yeah, no, that's fine, Ron. Yeah, that's absolutely.
But so if anything arises during that period that people have dwelled on or want to ask me, then they can do that. Why don't you crack on with the other 2 questions?
Yeah. Okay. So one is the accounts. They were out and quite late, as we know, and we were going to talk through some of the accounts with Patrick, but you're here. So would you like to tell us anything about that set of accounts, the next set, and perhaps any potential general meeting, because we haven't had a general meeting for a while. There's obviously reasons for that, but is there a plan to have a general meeting for shareholders?
Yeah, very much so. So the second set of accounts will be completed by the middle of October. I suspect maybe a little bit ahead of that, but I've set a deadline because Homes England, who are assisting with the fund of the stadium, also wanted those set of accounts completed. We all do. And I put a deadline on it of the mid-October. Our auditors are aware of that, and I'm sure they can get it done in time. So when we've done that, we'll call an AGM for this side of Christmas.
Good to hear. Any questions on the accounts for Ron? I had one interesting question sent to me. It's got the word covenant in it, and that's a mythical that doesn't exist in Roots Hall. But it was an interesting question, and the question is along the lines of: at some point in the future, you won't be the owner of this football club, obviously, and where's the protection for the football club if you were to sell, as we only want?
Okay, so the club will have a long leasehold interest. They have a leasehold interest at Roots Hall, but they will have an extended leasehold interest at the new ground, and then it will be up to the new owner. I mean, Paul, and probably others do too, that we have never charged any rent.
Yeah. I'm not so much talking about the rent, more the security of the club, because
they'll have security of tenure through the lease, so they'll be able to continue in the stadium and receiving the income streams that we've talked about last time I was here. So nothing will change. We'll embed that within the lease, and I will try and protect the football club as much as I can before I pop off, Paul, if that's all right with you.
That would be great. But, from a supporter's point of view, if you stick a stadium in the middle of a housing development, then there would be a little bit more room for housing.
I think it's the other way around. I think we're putting the housing development around the stadium.
No, sure. But I guess...
And don't forget, it's an enabling development, exactly the same way as the retail was. The profits raised from the retail development were assisting with the payment of, not in total, stadium. It's no different with the residential.
Okay, but what I'm saying is the value of the stadium is, what's it worth after you spent all that money on it? Very, very little, probably.
Not a lot.
Exactly. But it'd be worth a lot more if you sold it for more houses. That I think.
Oh no! That will never
is coming from.
No, that will never happen. No, I can absolutely assure everyone of that. I would. I suppose I could say over my dead body, but that's what you're trying to protect, isn't it? That won't happen. And I get the use of the word covenant, but no, in the section 106, it's bound in there as a stadium, and people would have to go and amend the section 106 to demolish the stadium, and I think that's hugely unlikely to be approved by the council. And I think the council are the probably
yeah. But it's informal safety net versus formal, is it?
I think we can protect that. I think we can protect the football club's interests largely in perpetuity at the new stadium.
I think that's what.
If that was going to happen, wouldn't the sensible thing to do would be for anyone who was wanting to make money out of the football club to do it now and not build a new stadium? Why would you want to do that and spend 60 million or whatever it's going to be and then knock it down for housing, which wouldn't be worth it?
I'm saying after you've gone wrong, not.
No, but I know you've got to protect, and you get some odd and actually strange questions at times, which we all have to answer. But that's a bizarre one, because actually you'd be demolishing what you paid for it and building something that probably wasn't worth it. And we might start routes all. So I think we can protect the club's interest in perpetuity through the new stadium. It's not something that has ever crossed my mind, because it wouldn't be economic.
Not for you, no. But
well, it wouldn't be economic for anybody else, really. I mean, I think that the council wouldn't approve it. That's for certain. And if that person then went to an appeal, I would find it. I'd be absolutely astounded if the Secretary of State found in their favour to undermine the football club's interests of a thriving town.
It's not exactly as if stuff doesn't happen at football clubs and councils and owners, though, is it? We've seen before that what probably shouldn't have happened ends up happening, and I think that's kind of where the question's coming from. Yeah. But anyway, I appreciate.
I know.
Yes.
I guess that look. Let me put our lawyers' mind to what we can do to ensure that the Southend United Football Club, or if the club has never been in administration, sometimes when they go to administration, they're called the sort of, like Bournemouth Athletic or something. We haven't been in administration. If it was, the clubs never disappear, do they? It's because they've always got the fans. So the fans are the club, and their interests need to be protected. So, whatever the position of the Southend United Football Club, or if that was morphed into something else, can be protected through its lease, and that really can't be broken, provided everyone abides by the rules, Paul. But I'll see what else we can do to make sure that we satisfy it by way, maybe of a covenant in some way. But we wouldn't want to burden the new owner if he was going to be an investor in the football club.
No, we definitely wouldn't want to do that.
No. But, I mean, you're right. I'm not going to be there forever, but I'm not looking to go in the foreseeable future either. So when we've delivered the stadium and we're making progress, hopefully through the leagues again, and I want somebody else to invest in the football club, the likelihood is it'd probably be a stepped process, but somebody will come in and invest, and we'll be wanting to work with them and make sure that they are the right party. Then maybe they might have an option to take over or something of that nature. That's how it would work. And you wouldn't want to burden their position around the assets, which are primarily there, almost entirely there, for the benefit of the football club, because all the income streams go to the football club. So I get the point, but I think it's a bit of a non-point. I don't think it's would ever be a viable consideration, but we'll look at it, and I'll give me a week to come up with something that might give everyone a bit more comfort. If it was necessary, I don't think it is necessary, but I'll look at it. Tom, you're a lawyer. What do you think?
On mute, Tom.
I bet you wish you never were a lawyer. You're on mute as well, so that's probably a good idea for a lawyer, isn't it?
I did, and I did have to take a quick call just as you were talking about that. I got the overall gist, and I'm sure we can put something in place. Which will
okay, thank you. Liam, thank you, Tom. Liam's got his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a very quick, hopefully a yes/no question on the idea of stepped investment, I beg your pardon. So the idea that you would ask for investment in the football club from presumably different parties at different stages over a different number of years or different time frame or whatever. Do you see investment from the fans as being part of that, like selling shares in the club, as in like a certain grade of shares to supporters groups, so that they would have some sort of maybe a seat on the board or some sort of control or some sort of input in decision making? Is that something that you can imagine in the future?
Well, that drum has been banged by Paul for the last 22 years. I don't suppose you're going to stop now.
Well, he's passed me the drumsticks.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll be quite clear about this. I think having fans on the board and trying to run a club by committee does not work. I think we have got fans on the board. Apart from me, Mark Chevelle's been there for 35 years. He's absolutely a fan. Frank Van Basel's a fan. Gary Lockett is absolutely a fan who goes to every away match. So I think you have got fans on the board. It's just that in terms of shares, we did a rights issue previously, and we increased the shareholding from, I think, 140 people to 1,550. I don't have any objection to issuing shares again for the benefit of the supporter group. I think, Liam, in many ways, the integration that we have through these meetings is very, very helpful. It might happen, every 3 weeks. I've suggested, Paul, that we actually extend that, because not a lot happens in 3 weeks. But if it's a month or 5 weeks or 6 weeks, I think this is a good forum, not just for the people who are in attendance, but for the people that can see it live or subsequently. It gives them a good insight to the club. So that's another step. When I say step to investment, what I really mean is that if someone came and we from time to time, I have people knock on my door, would you like an investor? And at this stage in the process of moving the club and giving a firm foundation for increased revenue streams and therefore the ability to progress, the answer is no, we don't want an investor right now. But if someone came to me in 2 years' time, I would probably think differently about it, because if it's not an investment. Let's be frank; it's someone putting their money into the football club and not seeing it again. So it's that sort of individual that we'll be looking for. I mean, football clubs.
About 3,500 of those have renewed season, or 2,000 of those have just renewed their season tickets, haven't they? So there are people that are interested in putting their money into the club and not getting anything out of it other than continued support. Okay,
so we've got 3,200 season tickets. We've got that raised roughly with that 530,000. Well, you saw the accounts. We lost 2 million. So once a quarter, we're going to need those 3,200 supporters again. So I'm talking about real money. Somebody who wants to invest in a stadium of something of 20,000 that could sustain a position in the championship, and we need investment into players. So that time will come. And if we have created the infrastructure where they can see the potential for clubs' growth, then that's likely to attract a new investor. In terms of shareholders, it's a welcome opportunity, and if that's what the fans want to do, then we could arrange a further rights issue at the time of the new stadium actually being practically complete. To do it beforehand, I don't think people will see the vision. So when it's practically complete, then we could issue more shares.
Well, let's stick that on the back burner then and revisit that.
I don't not saying it for those reasons though, back burner, because I just don't think that you could attribute the value to the football club as it is.
I accept what you're saying. I'm just saying we've discussion about it. Let's move on. You've answered it, and we'll come back again when we're closer. I think that's perfectly valid. Well, thank you. Yeah. Just a note, thank you, Kerry. Keith has joined us, Keith Baker. He's on mute at the moment, but he's there. Hello, Keith.
Apologies, I got caught in traffic.
No worries, thank you. Should we move to now for an update on Matchday experience and ticketing, and everyone happy with that? Yep. Okay. Tom,
Thanks, Paul.
Well, yeah, you go.
Okay, I thought I'd just tell you about the build up to Stockport, a story of frenetic activity, late nights, and a curveball, or one or two curveballs. And then I'll tell you about some of the feedback that we've received off the back of the game, and then answer any questions. So in the build up to the game, we had to do the usual maintenance works. In addition, we've replaced most of the roof on the west stand, toilet block, and the bars and kiosks. That was a huge undertaking. We've also replaced many of the wooden boards on the east, and we've done some work to the pavements at the back of the north. All of those works were required by the Safety Advisor Group to get our certificate so we could put the game on. We've put some paint on the walls, and we've done other repairs and remedial works. We also power washed the whole of the west stand, the whole of the north, most of the south lower. We can't power wash the south upper because there's electrical cables underneath, so it was swept and hoovered, but there is a pigeon problem up there which we're taking steps to try and resolve. And the east couldn't be power washed either because it's a wooden stand, so that has been hoovered a couple of times now, so it's looking good now. So to get the stadium ready, it was a pretty significant effort, and we had some feedback. Some of the power washing splattered up, and some chairs were covered in mud, which we've now resolved. There was some pigeon mess at the top of the south, which was missed. That's now been resolved. But generally speaking, the feedback has been good from an operational point of view. The season cards, we had an issue with our season cards, the distribution of those cards. So around the middle of August, our season card printing machine went down. That was a catastrophic failure. I'm not an IT guy, so I don't know the exact ins and outs of it, but it wasn't a question of buying a new printer or buying a new computer and off you go. It was more significant in that it needed some input from our ticketing provider, and the tickets were not going to be printed in time. So we outsourced it. The company we outsourced it to, their printer broke, so they had to replace their printer, and it was well, the season cards were issued or sent out much later than we had hoped, but thankfully most people got their season cards. So for the game on Stockport, against Stockport, what we'd actually done, we had the Stockport game set up for our access control system, but we also had a separate game set up for those who didn't receive their card. So they could go and collect a ticket and then come through the turnstile. Thankfully, that was, most people got their cards, so we didn't have any access problems and so on. So it wasn't perfect. And I had some feedback as well about the letter under the cover of which the season cards were dispatched. Could have been more personalised, didn't have our livery on it and so on, and I completely accept that. It was, as I said, we were firefighting and we were caught in a perfect storm, our system going down and then our outsourced partner system going down. It was just a question of getting the cards out, so that's what we did. The other thing I've had some questions on is about programmes. So the programme is slightly slimmed down this year. We've kept it at the £3 price, and we've also started selling the programmes digitally. And over 10% of all of the programmes that were sold at Stockport were digital, which for a first go, I was very pleased with. And that was partly the reason we went digital, or offered digital, was not to phase out hard copy programmes. That's absolutely not the intention, because we know it's important to people who collect or perhaps have their child as a mascot who want to have a souvenir of the day. So it's important that we keep at those hard copy programmes. But the digital programmes was designed for two reasons, really. One is to reduce our carbon footprint if we can. It's a CSR initiative. And secondly, it was in response to some fans who prefer to consume information digitally rather than hard copy, and perhaps don't want to queue up for a programme. So there were some questions around why the programmes had changed and why they were available for sale at the food and bev outlets rather than at the usual points. And the reason is that it is because we've changed the system of the way we do things, and it seemed to work well, albeit I think the West Stand didn't have enough programmes, but at the end of the day we still had 110 left over. So it's just a question of getting the distribution right around the stadium.
So it's kind of teething.
Yeah, and I think just on the teething problems, it was the first game that we'd operated for 18 months with unrestricted crowds. Everybody was, well, the staff that we had retained were a bit ring rusty, and that's not a criticism, and it's just a fact. It's been a while since we've operated the stadium. We had lots of new staff in who were learning the ropes. And whilst, there's always room for improvement and things were not perfect, from an operational point of view, everybody got in safely, everybody exited safely. Most people got their season cards on time. The beer was flowing, the pies were selling, and it went well from an operational point of view.
Tom, could I just pick up on the programmes, please? Obviously, not all supporters do go into the bars, and not all supporters, although you probably would like to change that, don't actually buy drinks and burgers from the outlets. And a lot of supporters are consciously not going into bars because of the current COVID challenges. So it seems at the moment we're actually not giving those supporters the opportunity to get a programme because there's no sellers outside, or so to speak.
Well, I think you can also buy a programme in the ticket office, but the kiosks along the west, for example, you're outside when you're purchasing. But are you thinking of the east?
No, I was thinking about the west in particular, but I'm just saying, why are we not having programme sellers out? Why don't we sort of use the hut in the car park if supporters don't? I mean, I know you're saying you can go into the ticket office, but when you arrive for the match, the queues are out of the door, and unless you're going to come down specially before that to get a programme.
The other problem we had was that people didn't seem to know where to go to get a programme, and when they asked, and I'll loosely say the word stewards, where to go, they all got different answers. And I know in the south there was some debate about where do you pick these things up from. He's told me it's over there, he's told me over there, and she's told me it's over there. It just wasn't very clear.
Yeah, so thanks, Kerry, for that. I have received that feedback actually, and what we have is posters up everywhere now, and marshals briefed on where to tell supporters they can get their programmes from. But you're right, the communication, and probably the marshals weren't as fully briefed on that as they should have been. So unless you're buying food or going in the bar, or you can go to the shop before the game, then you're not going to get a programme. Download digitally. They're also available at reception. So there are various places, but you're right, we don't have, because the way the programmes were dealt with earlier, it was a third-party company last season who operated the programmes, and we took some money from that. Because we've changed the system, because we wanted to offer this digital option and reduce our carbon footprint and so on, we've taken it in-house. And if there's a significant demand, we could look at opening the programme store again. And we have been looking at having people hawking, going up and down and so on. So I shall feed that back to the team and see what we can do. But I thought the message we wanted to send was just to try and keep it simple. If you want a programme, it's any food outlet or drink outlet and the ticket office. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying have loads of sellers, but perhaps the little hut that used to be operating in the car park, perhaps have that. It just gives supporters another option. And it's just I accept that, Leslie. We'll look at opening that up for the Wrexham game.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I've got to back Leslie up on that, because I've got so many complaints where people You're saying that you know, you have a few programs left over. They could have been sold, because so many people have told me,
Yeah.
"Oh, I couldn't get a program." Somebody should go in the bar and get a program, but here you've seen the queue.
Yeah.
And,
A lot of
people's
people
also
don't want to go in
saying-
a bar.
Yeah, no, so yeah, so what we're going to do is what we have been doing is distributing them to the various kiosks. That's going to continue, and bars. At half time, once the kiosks are closed, they're going to be gathered up and taken to the ticket office. So if anybody has missed or not had the opportunity to purchase a hard copy, they can get one from the ticket office
Okay, thank you.
on the way out. So,
And
yeah,
Tom,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tom, we still have the Stockport, the spares left over, 106. We still have them, don't we?
correct, yeah,
So they can still be purchased if you want to
Yeah.
play.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Kerry, you were going to take ticketing in terms of questions. Has Tom answered?
He has. There was lots of complaints for us in the South Upper about pigeons, so I'm really glad you've identified the fact that there was a problem there. It was quite an issue up there. I wanted to touch on the arrangements for away ticketing, which seems to be causing some angst amongst people. First of all, I think we've probably been to the hardest ground to get an away ticket for this season at Wealdstone. And I know we had quite a lot of people ended up in the Wealdstone end, the same as King's Lynn, where I think King's Lynn reckon we had 2,000 people in that crowd, which is pretty good going. I'm not so sure the way away ticket points have been calculated is the way that those of us involved in travel would go. There's lots of people that do away games that don't have season tickets that were automatically at a disadvantage for getting a ticket at Wealdstone. And for those of us that are going to roll into Halifax and Torquay, unless we provide you with a selfie of us outside the ground, we're not going to get any credit for that as well. So I think it was set up in good intentions, but I think maybe that does need to go away and been reviewed. And if we do have a game where we like it to be struggling for tickets, who knows what we get in the FA Trophy? Maybe there's a different way that we can handle that to make sure those people that are regularly on Leslie's coaches and Ken's coaches are given the acknowledgement for the, in some cases, 20 years service they've done going up the country, rather than I haven't got a season ticket, I can't get a ticket. It's a difficult one to do. The real bugbear came from people that don't live in Southend, who try to get through on the telephone and just racked up telephone bills because the phones either weren't being answered or they were sitting in a queue for ages. And lots of people just gave up. And I know that I popped over the ticket office a couple of times, living next door, to pick tickets up on behalf of people who couldn't get through on the phones. Most of the clubs that I deal with, and I travel a lot just watching random football, I can pick a ticket up online. I don't have to phone them up or go to the ticket office. We do appear to be quite unique in the fact that we don't have a portal for us to buy tickets for away games. I'm just wondering if any thought has been given to that, and how we can get around the problem that the Exiles have, that they can't physically appear at Southend and are at immediate disadvantage of trying to phone in.
Can I just add to what Kerry said there? Hanging on a phone, it's a premium rate number as well.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to look at that, Tom.
Yeah, should I deal with telephones first? So we are reviewing telephone systems at the moment. We have 14 premium numbers, I'm told, which seems staggering. I don't know why we need that many. The telephone system that we currently have needs upgrading. We can only queue 4 calls. So we might have 50 people calling, but the chances of getting few when you can only queue 4 is unacceptable. So it needs changing. And I'm looking at the maths around the premium rate numbers, because I suspect we're not making significant money off of that. And it might be something that we move away from. My preference is to move to a VoIP system. That makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about. That's what I've been advised is the way to go. And that will mean we can queue more calls, get through things, get through calls quicker, and that should make the system more efficient. So we've met with 3 companies now. It's now with our IT guy to provide a final advice on which way we jump, but they're all much of a muchness. Is just what's going to work out best with us, who's the best partner for us. So I would have thought within the next 4 to 6 weeks we'll be moving to a better telephone system. But you're quite right, the telephone system that we have at the moment is unsatisfactory.
Thank you. It's good to hear you say that as well.
The second thing is just saying about the review of the away ticketing system that's in place at the moment. So we did go out with draft proposals requesting feedback on how this should operate. And I don't think we can please everybody, all of the people all of the time. And the way the system has been set up to operate is to reward those who support the club, have a season ticket and travel and so on. I hear what you say on the exiles, and we have spoken to the exiles on the topic, and I believe, I'm not across the detail on it, I must confess, but I believe that a solution has been found to address their concerns. But if the system needs changing, then my ears are open to it. If there's a better way of dealing with things, then for sure we'll look at it. But we did go out and ask for feedback from various supporter groups who fed back, and we've incorporated their suggestions into the proposal. So if there's additional feedback now or things that need tweaking, then yeah, absolutely we can have a look at it.
I think Ken just raised his eyebrows.
I think
I ignored Ken's feedback. That was the. I'll be joking, Ken.
There is a margin, I don't know if it's contractual or not, but I'm told that Blues Lottery contributors and shareholders, Blues Lottery contributors will promise priority as part of sign up. If that's the case, then you need to deal with that. I'm told several people have sent that in.
I'm not aware of that.
Shareholders were, I think, in the early days when we talked about this, and perhaps when you spoke about it, we did perhaps, I know it's impossible, as you absolutely rightly say, it is impossible to keep everyone happy, but maybe just check the Blues Lottery. Yeah,
I'll look at that. Hopefully this is a problem we'll have for one season only, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tom, sorry, in terms of the current scheme, then I know that what you've said is if Southend aren't selling the tickets, that you're asking us to send through a copy of our receipt when we buy the other ticket. What's the proposals for Halifax? Because obviously they're selling on the day cash. I guess they're not going to give us a ticket when we go through the turnstiles.
I don't know if they're going to give you a ticket. You're absolutely right. They are selling on the day. So what was said was that in the event that we are not selling tickets, if you take a photo of a stub or some evidence that you were there,
right,
we will credit you points for that game.
Right.
And if you can gather some evidence, then we will. Presumably, if you are travelling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can give you trouble. But obviously, if guys find their own way there, they're perhaps not going to be able to prove that. Obviously, if they travel with Blues on Tour or the Trust, fine, I can give you a travel list.
I mean, they could send photos in. It seems a bit of a clumsy way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
But perhaps we'll speak with. I'll ask the ticket office to speak with Halifax to make sure that something can be issued for the purpose of.
That'd be good.
Yeah, which will probably resolve that problem. But
excellent.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Leslie.
You won't want 500 selfies either.
No.
No, but I mean, if guys travel on the coaches, we can cover that off. It's only if people make their own way there.
Yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem. Both of us can do that. But
we can give a travel list.
Obviously, there are those that travel on their own steam.
Yeah, exactly. And, so they're the ones who need.
I can't see the cooperation coming from the home club to accommodate any form of proof. Even if I can't even see if you send them receipts to hand out, they will bother to do it.
Well, we can ask the question, Ken.
Yeah.
By all means, yeah.
I think the point we also have to remember is that lots of people were getting concerned because I think there was
That's not promising.
I That's the best I've heard Kerry for ages.
Well, maybe we'll come back to Kerry. Hopefully, he'll reconnect.
Oh, we won't tell him about this bit. We'll let him see it in the copy.
I think,
I
Paul,
wonder how long we'll talk for.
Paul, have you got a master switch there or something?
Yeah. Do you want me to turn him back on?
No, it's fine, thank you.
His battery's probably run out.
While we're waiting for Kerry to return, can I maybe just someone who has not spoken before? Michael, have you got anything you want to ask? Particularly Ron. Ron wants to go at 7 anyway.
Nothing in particular. Just a couple of observations that were made to me over the last game. A couple of people come to me and said that the light in the East Stand disabled toilet, when you turn it on, it stays on. It doesn't go off after that. I don't know how true that is, or because I didn't witness it myself, but obviously it may be just a simple dirty switch or something like that, but obviously we don't know.
I'll get that looked at.
Okay. And the other thing, someone brought up the tiers for when you give your money back to the club for the ticket. They said someone went into the office and I was told that because they're a disabled season card holder, there'll be a percentage of cost on the free shirt, for example. We don't know if that was in the when it was advertised or whatever. You know, you get the retro shirt or whatever it is.
Yeah. No, that's right. I can't remember what the deal was on that, Michael, but I shall look it up, and I've got your details, so I can contact you tomorrow on that direct, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
The other thing I was going to mention was that the situation with the disabled seating on the west is something that I've gone and had a look at. I think there is a solution to it, and that is by extending the plinths, if you like, further into, so taking out the row seats. Now, I just need to check what the situation is with the season card holders in front, and also we need to schedule in some work. But I think the point that's been made by you and a couple of others about wheelchairs being buffeted and so on can be addressed. So I just wanted to let you know that we had taken steps to move that forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. So Richard's just let us know that Kerry's internet's died. I'm sitting here waiting for him to come back. So if I see him, I'll admit him straight away. Let's go for on my list, Dan, would you like to ask anything? I mean, I think we should, as Ron wants to go, if there's anyone who's got a question for Ron, perhaps put the hand up first. And if not, let's go for Dan generally. I've got some more subjects to go through, but I'd rather you guys all have a have your say first. So Dan, have you got something you'd like to ask anyone?
I had something, but I've lost my notes, so I'm just trying to call them up at the moment.
Okay, we'll come back to you.
Back to me, yeah.
Leslie, I know you've spoken, but I know
just one.
You want to talk about, don't you?
Yeah, just one. I know, Tom, at the last call, we were advised that the Junior Blues scheme was going to be relaunched at Meet the Blues Day. Obviously, that didn't happen. Obviously, it goes without saying that our young supporters are key, and it's key that we engage with them. So what is the sort of plans on that, or where are we on that?
I'm afraid I'm going to have to defer to the commercial team on that one, Leslie. I'm not exactly sure where they are on it, but I can again speak with them tomorrow.
Okay.
And come back to you on that.
Right. Thank you.
Kerry has rejoined us. Welcome back.
Sorry, I lost it. My internet went down. Apologies for that. I forgot I don't exactly know where I fell. I'm sure the point was picked up.
We weren't listening to you anyway, Kerry, so don't worry about it.
That's fair enough. Back to usual. Part of the call.
Okay, so Leslie, who else? Anyone else not spoken? Lynn spoken. Richard, you haven't had a go. Anything from you?
Not at the moment. There's a few bits, but they can wait. I'll wait till the next one.
Okay, Keith. On mute, Keith.
Yeah, sorry, nothing for me.
Okay.
That's one for the questions for myself.
Can I just ask whether there was any feedback given to Kings Lynn over, how do I put this gently, their lack of understanding of how to deal with a big crowd?
Yeah, that was feedback was given. I believe they put something out on social media in relation to the safety advisory group meeting around attendance numbers and allocations. But I did put something out on social media myself to ask supporters to give me some feedback, and I can pass it on to my counterpart. And I had a number of comments sent back to me, direct message. Some of them I can't repeat, but I'll pass them on.
Cool. They're much better at Wilsden, I've got to say.
Yeah, it was very organised as well at Wilsden, but one, we're going to a lot of clubs now that are not used to big wave fans, trying to sort out parking for the coaches and getting that information out has been problematic so far. So I'm doing my best around that, trying to assist you all travelling to those grounds. And also nationally as well, we've got a shortage around stewards and marshals, SIA as well because of COVID. A lot of those people now working in other trades have moved out. So there's nationally a shortage. So a lot of stewarding is quite new. And also 18 months of no fans, it's going to take a while to get back to some normality around that industry.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, thanks. So we've been round, Kerry, while you were off. We've just been round to allow everyone to have a go. So now we're coming back to me and some of the subjects I've got. But please all chip in, and if you want to ask something, just
yeah. Can I?
Yeah, go, Ken.
Can I just ask before Ron goes? I don't know if there's anybody at the club, but we've got nobody here tonight from the actual playing staff or management staff. But I have been asked if there was any news as to. We've heard a lot of talk on Akinola. We know the situation there, but we've heard nothing about Ashley and Nathaniel George. So I've been asked to ask the question. You know, there's two players there that are on the wage structure, which
I think it's
apparently
as well.
Won't use.
It's a good question, Ken. There's another couple, isn't there, as well? I think, because I got sent a similar question.
Has anybody got an answer to that here tonight?
Well, Akinola can only go to a National League club now, as of today. Nathaniel George has been unwell, and therefore he's not currently in a fit state to go to another club. So we are looking after him, and when he's better, then we'll consider his future. But for the moment, we're just looking after him.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Ron. But it's just that obviously that news hadn't come out to the supporters who are interested in it.
No, because some of these things are confidential, Ken, and that's why I haven't come out.
Okay, fair enough. You've answered the question. Thank you.
The question I had Canali and Guard on there as well. Ron.
What was that?
Canali and Guard, they don't have squad numbers, we don't think. And they still at the club?
Yeah.
I was sent this question. I didn't do my research.
I didn't know they didn't have squad numbers, but they are absolutely at the club. Yeah. Tom, do you have any view on that? I mean,
no, I wasn't aware actually they didn't have squad numbers either. I'll take that.
That could be a load of rubbish. I say I didn't research. Yeah. This was sent to me, but it did match Ken's. I was sent 4 names. So. Okay.
No, Kanali and Lewis, they're both with us, and yep, we'd like the other 2 to leave. At least Phil Brown would like the other 2 to leave, and I wish they would have been gone before now, but they're still here. There is some prospects of Simeon going, but we'll see. Before I do go, can I just sorry, there's a couple of hands up. Liam, I think you're up first, and then Richard. We go across the top, and then Dan. If we deal with those 3, I've just got something to leave you with. But
thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. Your point earlier, you said there were 88 points to do with the new stadium, of which 87 had been agreed. Conditions, sorry. So can I just check? Are you expecting a development control meeting within the next 2 weeks to sign off the stadium? What I'm just trying to understand, because a little birdie tells me that it hasn't gone past development control yet, and that there is no meeting scheduled for the next 2 weeks. So are we expecting, where's the count? What stage is the council at? in terms of resolving that, please?
I don't know whether that's a crow or a robin, but don't listen to your little birdies is what I'd say. The development control meetings are held regularly, but this would be dealt with by a special meeting called just for conduct of the football club, because it's a major application in the town, and time needs to be set aside for members to consider it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Thank you.
And I think that, but it's a good point though, Liam. So why I can't confirm a date is because when the date is confirmed, it'll be in the public diary of the council. So the day that I confirm it, it'll be public knowledge in the event.
Understood. Thank you.
But it's not impossible. In the next couple of weeks, we may well have a date. Yeah. Richard.
Just, I know it's probably sort of like it's old news, but obviously I've heard various different rumours and stories or whatever. Can you clarify what happened with a certain player that Mr. Brown wanted, who subsequently went on to another club? What actually happened there? And I've just had
Do you mean Ricky Holmes?
Yeah.
We agreed his terms, and then he changed his mind. Simple as that.
So he's probably I've just gone for more money, basically.
Well, we didn't offer him what he wanted. When we got close, he said I would accept this. We agreed it other than 1 point, which was giving him a second year's contract if we included. So I think we wanted him to play 30 league games to earn himself another contract. And he wanted cup games included. We said no, but everything else is agreed. And then he went off to Basingstoke, or wherever it is. I know. I think you said what are they famous for? But that's correct, Tom, isn't it? We did agree his terms because Tom got involved in that in the last throw of dice.
Absolutely. He made a counter proposal which was agreed by us, save for what Ron just mentioned on the appearances in league and cup versus league.
Mm. Okay, what's
that's fair enough.
What's the general? You asked the question. Is the general consensus that that player or the fans would like that player to stay with us?
I think me personally, until Phil Brown came to the club, we saw nothing. I personally didn't think we saw anything from him that would want him to sign. But that said, once Brown turned up, he seemed to be a totally different player. And I've got to be honest, 2 years ago, I'd have snatched his hand off at a deal. But the one thing we are missing, and something we did see a little bit of from him, is we are lacking creativity in midfield. The 3 games I've seen have been dire and lacking creativity, to be polite. He's just non-existent, but he might have been somebody who could do it. But obviously it's been and gone.
Richard, Phil would agree with you wholeheartedly that he, for the 6 games that Phil was in charge last year, Ricky stepped up to the plate, and I think we all agree he played well. I thought his legs had gone a little bit, but actually he's not old. I met him personally because he wanted to talk about his future, and that's it was through that conversation he eventually got to a position where we came to terms. I'm surprised that he's gone to where he's gone. I think it's actually probably a contract that he could get out of if he wanted to. I'd never say never, but we did get Will Atkinson in. Maybe you feel that Will's not creative. I think that Will's got a fantastic engine. He's a great person to have around. I think Ricky is a different type of player. Yes, he is quite creative, and he's dogged. But look, if this is not, Phil Brown would love this, but if we're not successful and we've got a weak midfield, I'm not going to sit on the sidelines and watch us not succeed. So just bear that in mind. Some other people may become, we've got freedom in the National League. I'm the last person who wants to be here, but we are here. And we've got to do whatever it necessitates to get out as quick as possible.
Was that the same with Maguire, Drew, as well? Because I mean, I've never seen him play. I've got a relative who's an Orient season ticket holder, and when it was rumoured we were going to sign him, he said, "Go for he'll be fantastic for you." Bit of a luxury player, but
I don't think I don't remember him being on our radar.
It was talked about quite a bit, where it's just like Chris Phillips sort of filling column inches or not, I don't know, but certainly it's certainly a name that's been mentioned quite a few times over like the last few months, but obviously
well, I wouldn't look. Chris doesn't. He has got column inches to fill, and obviously we help him write his articles, but he might hear rumours, and sometimes he comes through to me or probably Phil now a bit more, and ask whether it's correct, and we say no, but by which time it's already got in the paper and it's been talked about. But often they're not. Rumours. Sometimes there's no foundation to them, and there wasn't a foundation to that one. I don't know the player. Never came across my desk.
Okay. So the last little bit for me. So basically, what you're saying is there's still money or availability for players to come in.
We're over budget, but I'm not going to let us fail if we can find somebody who would really make a difference. Of course, the caveat there is that how do we know he's going to make a difference? Of course, the truth is we don't. But I think that we haven't closed the door, but nobody is on the horizon that we're looking at present. But who knows what might happen? I wouldn't just close the book and say we're finished. Yes, it'd be nice if Akinola and Nathaniel George left us, but we've already accounted for that in the budget, so that's just an excess that we're having to suffer. And
Ron, I know you're trying to get away, and I do want Dan to ask his question before you do.
Yeah, no, I won't go. So Dan, I'm here.
I mean, you partly answered my question, but my question was around bringing people in, and I know balls are different for the National League, but I wondered if there was any update. I think it was talked about last meeting by Phil, but I don't know if there's been further updates since then. But there was the talk of an eyebrow raising signing. Is that now off the table?
Sorry, who was signing?
It was Phil called it an eyebrow raising signing.
Oh yeah, he's talking about Akindi.
Okay.
Akindi's injured. We made Akindi an offer. He didn't accept it. He would have been our joint highest paid player if he had accepted it. And then he got injured. So maybe we were lucky. I don't know. If John got fit again and Paul Scally came to some sort of sense over the wages, then probably we'll do it. So there you go.
Okay. I do have another question, but I think it's more for Tom, so I'll let you.
Okay. Look, guys, we're all on the same page. We all want the best for the football club. Can I just leave you with this thought? When people were protesting last year at the last game, home game, one of the biggest protagonists was making a lot of noise at me, and maybe he had it. Well, everyone's got a right to say whether they're right. I think free expression has now sort of hit the headlines today with Piers Morgan and the rest of it. So everyone can say what they like. But this particular individual, I decided to ask Reece Ellen just to look up his track record, and we found that as far as we could go back, and that was like 8 years. He'd only ever bought children's tickets. And on one Boxing Day 2 years ago, he bought 32 of them. He may have kids, but more likelihood is he's probably abused his position and got through the turnstiles. Now, of course, our steward should pick that up. But that's not right, is it, for the football club? People just abusing their position and then complaining. I'm not saying that they've got right to complain because they pay full price, but when people are paying £3 when they should be paying £18, and a lot of them all the time for year after year after year, and it needs to be discouraged. And the way to do that is that we all want the same for the football club. If everyone's going to rip us off, it's not really helpful. So you ought to be aware of that. I don't know whether it's endemic, but Tom has instructions to make sure that it's eradicated as best we can. We don't want people turning up with children's tickets who are 50 years of age.
I think you're probably telling the wrong audience here.
Well, I'm not really, Paul, am I? Because this goes out on streamed, and everyone will look at it.
Yeah.
Can I? Sorry, as one of the organisers of that, can I just put that into a context? I know who you're talking about. I absolutely agree with everything you say. I absolutely agree with everything you say. People shouldn't be buying children's tickets if they're not children, or pensioners' tickets if they're not pensioners. They should pay the going rate, and that's exactly what we would do. And yes, right audience, that shouldn't be happening. I would like to say that person was a complete pain on the day, completely out of order, nothing that we would want to associate ourselves with. Most of the people that were at that protest had left before you had arrived, because we'd said the bit that we wanted to say, and we've moved away. I know who you mean. Let's not tar that with that particular individual, but you're absolutely right. Pay the going rate.
I don't know him, and what you've just said gives me a lot of comfort. And I meet fans all over the place, and you're a great group of people, and I know we all want the same thing. And while people have got lots of grumbles from time to time, it's not lost on me. I just thought that was out of order. And if you think he was a pain in the arse, then I do too. So that's it really. I'm going to go. Just that we all want our best. We're all doing our best for the football club at all times. That was all. I'll leave you to it. If anything comes out of it, Tom, that I can help with subsequently, you'll let me know, won't you? Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for your time, Ron. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Bye.
Can I follow up from that, which I think we would all agree on here with what he's just said, and nobody wants the club being ripped off by anybody. But I want to, and this is just to bring to attention. So, they may not know, but I've had a message saying that he started with a bit embarrassment to the club on Saturday. That was the home game. Cash only in the ticket office, a club shop, the turnstiles not even working properly. The point he was making, that anybody could walk in to the game without a ticket. He was backed up by this by a Paul saying that, yeah, he's absolutely right. I could have walked in with a Tesco card. So I queried where it was, and it was in the West Stand. And that, the steward just said, "I'll just push the door open, mate. In you go." And he took his boy in that way as well. It's just to make you, we're trying to feedback in case you don't know these things, and I hope it's helpful to you.
No, we have a pre-match meeting 48 hours before the game. So we've had our pre-match today for the game on the weekend. And out to those meetings, various things come, a turnstile might not be working, so we send somebody over to fix it. We might have other issues which arrive. Keith was actually on our meeting this morning where we discussed Wrexham coming and so on. But not all. We don't get all of the feedback from every. That's important information. So thank you for that, Ken. And we shall look into what happened there. But the marshals need to be on it. They're paid to do a job, and they need to make sure that they are stopping people who are gaining, if they are gaining access without a ticket, from gaining access. And if they're trying to gain access on an invalid ticket, then that also needs to be stopped. But yeah, thank you for the feedback on that.
Tom, I've got a question on catering that someone sent me about kiosks and bars being able to accept card. I mean, I tend to use cash myself, and cash is working fine, or it was on Saturday, so that's good. But what wasn't working for us in the bar, and you know this because I talked to you about it, is we couldn't take payments because of a network problem, and that, you know, that these things happen. I'm not worried about that, but generally speaking, I was going to take card going forward. Is there any exceptions? You know.
No, our Wi-Fi actually went down in the ticket office, which needed to be repaired, which I think that was undertaken by the IT guy, and that got back up and running. The point you make about cashless, or at least having the touchless system across the stadium, is something that we're putting in place. And in fact, the new internet is part of that. So we now have internet around the entire stadium, and the PDQ machines to take the payments have been ordered. Whether or not they'll be here for Wrexham or not, I'm not sure. But that was, I mean, the reason we got that in was it helps us track spend, but also it's in some way responsive to COVID concerns. People don't like to handle cash. And also it speeds up transactions. So yes, we are asking supporters to purchase programs from the kiosks and bars, which puts additional strain on those kiosks and bars. So we are in some way trying to address that by speeding up payments by going contactless. But I think Leslie's point earlier was a good one. So we will look to open up that program water cabin as well.
Okay.
So yes, the internet is in and PDQs are ordered.
Okay, thank you. There's been an oft asked question about facilities in the South Upper. I know in the past people have said, oh, that area is condemned, you couldn't possibly use it for food. But the question's coming again. There's no catering. That means, you know, people have to move around a bit. Frankly, I don't think that's a particular problem because you can get to the sidebar, but I think it's often very busy, that sidebar, if you're trying to do something in the South Upper. So I just wonder, you know, the questions come in, are you planning to do anything to upgrade facilities?
So the space in the South Upper is pretty restricted. There's no extraction, for example, so it limits what you could do up there. But it is possible for us to put some offering up there. And it was actually, it came up at a meeting a couple of weeks ago. I think we were approached by a third-party company who said they might actually take the space on, jazz it up and start doing something there. So I will resurrect that conversation. Everything got put to one side to get season cards out and polished and everything else. So I will resurrect that conversation.
Okay. I'll witter on until someone's hand goes up then. So under other, can we have a bike rack, Russell? Oh, okay, in a second, Liam. Can we have a bike rack? So I can kind of guess where this one's come from, but less traffic, carbon, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, I'm all into CSR and trying to reduce our footprint. So I think that's a good idea. I've got no idea how much a bike rack costs, whether or not we can get a grant and so on, but we should investigate it, and I'll let you know at the next meeting whether or not it's something we can do, and if so, at what price and how we're going to make it work. But I think that's a great idea.
Okay, and let's go to you guys. Liam's went up first. Liam.
Richard's went up first, so I don't mind.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry to tread on
ignore it. Just a quickie. I had to speak to sort of Kerry about the. I'm sort of backtracking a bit here, and obviously now Mr. Martin's gone. It might be a little bit late, but whilst obviously we have the media here to sort of clarify this, the person involved that Mr. Martin was referring to at the protest, not only was he not part of the protest, but also he was nothing to do with those people that organised it. So they were not part of the Save Our South End committee. And obviously we had objections about this person being there. And yes, he was very objectionable. but I just need to clarify clearly that he had nothing to do with the organisation of that protest. So I just had to put that out there.
Thank you, Richard. Liam, is it your turn now? I think just before Kerry, you were there.
Thanks, Paul. I was going to ask Tom, so you've been at the club now for 3 months with your feet under the desk. I believe your first supporters meeting was early June. And in that meeting, you said you were going to conduct an internal audit on the football club that was going to last 90 days. Right. So we are, without checking my calendar, we are there or thereabouts. So I wondered how you've gotten on. Like, are you going to publish the results of that publicly? Or are you close? Or is there any snippets you can give us now? Or what health have you found the football club to be in general?
So yes, you're right. It was 90 days was the task. The business plan is drafted. It's 95% of the way there, and it's like a blueprint for success, which sounds a bit, but it's.
To be honest, Tom, that's what we needed a bit more of. When you came on board, we were all very keen for someone to actually take running the football club off of Ron's hands. So don't worry about how poncy and corporate that sounds, to be honest.
It's sprinkling the corporate.
But yeah, well, to be honest, for a lot of it, especially at that time, and considering we've only got 4 points in the National League, that's more of what we want to hear about how behind the scenes are being run. So
yeah, no, it is. I mean, I'll give you in a very much an abridged version, but I have started drafting a note to anybody who's interested, so they can look at it. We'll put it out as a news story, which basically says the first 100 days. This is what I've done. This is what I found. This is how things are changing. But in summary, I suppose I'd say that standards needed to be raised. And case in point would be the operation of the Stockport game. So Stockport operated well, but standards need to be raised. There's weeds around the place which need to be removed. There's litter which needs to be shifted. There's seats which still had muck on them when they shouldn't have had muck on. And if you're paying £300 for a season card, you want to turn up and not have issues with it, and I completely accept that. Now, and by saying that, it's not a criticism of anybody. It really isn't. It's we have the resources we have, and we have to use them, have to prioritize. But it's just getting the mindset that we just don't want it to be good enough. I want fans to come and have an exceptional experience. I want the marshals and safety people to smile. I want the ticket people to engage properly. And I want those in hospitality to have a wonderful dining experience and so on. So it has been about raising standards. It's about getting buy-in as well. So here I am doing my spreadsheet exercise about how we're going to make things different. And I need people to buy into that, and they are buying into it. But I always say it's, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And if the culture doesn't buy into the strategy, we're never going to get anywhere. So it's been getting that positive mindset. I've had one-to-one meetings with everybody. And in those meetings, I get their name, I get their job description, what do they actually do, how long have they been at the club, what do they think we do well, what do they think we do badly, suggested improvements for departments, suggested improvements for business in any lives. And out of those, I get lots of information, which feeds into the business plan and gives me some ideas about how we're going to improve things. But one of the things which came out was, well, I can tell you all this, Tom, but nothing's going to change. Well, things are changing. We are making small differences, and it is. There's two things. It is an oil tanker, which we need to, and everybody's been doing. This is the way we've always done it. Or why are you looking at that, Tom? How is that going to improve the business? Or have you got the skill set as a lawyer and commercial guy to have input on this particular aspect? And I actually think being a lawyer and a commercial person rather than a football person is an advantage. You've got lots of football people and people working within the football administration business who've only done a little of their lives, whereas I can come in and suggest ways of doing things differently. And as I say, people have been really receptive to that, which is good. And we are making, you know, some small changes, and we'll be making some big changes as well. So
someone go on mute, please. Background noise. Thanks. Tom.
Yeah. So I found lots of things. Some I can tell you about, some I can't. Things which need to be improved, departments that need to be restructured slightly, people who need to take responsibility and ownership for certain aspects of things that we're doing. And but in summary, there's some really good people here. It's been I was going to say rudderless. Rudderless is probably the wrong word. It's just a coordinated, coherent approach to get things done rather than just talk about ideas. So that's where we've got to, and that's what the blueprint for success is. The blueprint for success starts with a dashboard, which gives you an overview of how I think we're going to end up this financial year. It then goes into a plan for the whole business. Then each department has its own departmental plan, which all feeds in to the master plan, which then feeds into the budget. So it's quite a long document. It's quite complex in parts, but it's all achievable as long as we stick to the plan.
Thanks. Like I said, one of the criticisms that I had, or not one of the criticisms, one of the points I made on one of these previous calls was that the strategy for the football club was what was missing. There was clearly a goal, but there was no idea of how to achieve it. So the idea of it's a bit chicken and egg. You know, you have to look after the non-football aspects of the club, and then that the footballing aspects will improve. However, if the football comes first, then the club will benefit as well. But getting our house in order, clearly from a mile away, you can see that the club has been, what did you say? Not rudderless, cohesive.
I can't remember. It was some middle management corporate.
That did sound a bit middle management.
But it's just that sprinkling the corporate and just having a structure and processes and procedures.
Bit of medium-term, long-term thinking rather than firefighting every day.
And listen, I'm a fan. I want us to succeed, and I have. I have opinions on the football side, but I'm not here to opine on should we be signing X or Y. I'm there to get the business into a position where we can afford to sign X and Y, and then help the football guys get what they want, whatever that may be. If it's a new floor in the gym, if it's new equipment, if it's John McKinn Day, if it's whatever it is, I'm trying to make the business more successful commercially, so we can we have more money to play with.
So will we expect, obviously you said there are some things you can, some things you can't tell us. You already said you're going to publish the 100 days as a news story.
Yeah, so I've started
will there be a more, will that be it in terms of what the public can see?
Well, no, I mean, I hear times I'm on this call every 3 to 4 weeks. I'm sure questions will arise out of the document when it's being published. It's currently at 3 pages long. And I'm probably halfway through it, so it's going to be a long one, but I don't want to issue a long, I want to cut it down. So yeah, it's a work in progress, but I will be, realistically, it's probably going to be towards the back end of September.
Okay, great, thank you.
You done, Liam? Kerry? Yes, Richard, no worries, thank you. Kerry, do you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to pass some feedback on.
Thank you.
That was which in the Shrimper Zone forum that I represent here, I was asked just to give a really big heads up and a thumbs up to the community work that's been going on, particularly the involvement of Frankie Banks and some of the stuff that he's doing over at Garren's, and some of the stuff that's going over with the golf course over there, and just actually what an excellent thing it is. Probably doesn't run at cost, but lots of people are giving me a big thumbs up and just asked me to give the nod, in the hope that maybe we can get a little bit of free advertisement for the services that go on over there. So a good news story.
Yeah, I think Frankie and David Crow, I've had lots of positive feedback off of them. And I would like to, steal the glory on that, but that's very much, Suckett and Dale and April and all of the guys at the community are really supportive, and both David and Frankie do a great job. But thank you for that feedback.
Yeah, and I'll put my
Brilliant,
bit on there because I actually came along before COVID hit as part of the community team's Prince's Trust. I was their employed participant, and they do really, really good work over there. So they all need to be praised and what have you for what they do.
Yeah, they had April in particular had a big input on the Meet the Blues Day as well, which was really useful. So yeah, they're good guys and they do a great job. And thank you for that feedback.
Thank you.
Dan, you've had your hand up for a while.
Yep. Just a couple of quick ones. I know you said about the season cards and the situation from this year, which is absolutely understandable. But a lot of people online have said that this happens every year, and it does. It happens every year that we get our season cards quite late in the day, and it always seems to be last minute. So are there plans in the future to avoid situations like this happening again? And is there a way where if someone buys a season card, they can get it within a few days of purchasing, if not straight away?
Yeah, I have heard that actually that this happens. It's not the first time it's been left late in the day, but I can genuinely say on this occasion it wasn't lack of forethought, lack of planning. It was, as I say, it was a perfect storm, and it was quite an achievement just to get the things out in the end, and I was relieved that we did. But in terms of going forward, I mean, we will have the new system or new computer or printer, whichever element of it broke. I haven't delved into the detail. That will all be replaced and ready to go. I'm just trying to think on my feet as to whether or not there is a reason why we can't start sending them out as and when they come in, even if it's in batches of 500. I can't think of a logistical or operational reason why we couldn't do that. This year we just thought, well, the same as usual, crank the machine up and off it will go, and we won't have an issue. And then we did, and then the rest is history. But yeah, no, I think it's a good point, Dan, and I can foresee no reason why we cannot, from an operational and logistic point of view, do them in batches of 500 as and when.
Okay, that's fine. Number two question. I know a couple of people, I've seen a couple of tweets on social media from people who are saying they've still not got their season tickets.
I've had one person contact me on that, but I'll ask our media man to put a tweet out for those who haven't received them yet. We have, on that one that I've had, we've made contact with the printing company to find out whether or not the card left their factory, and if it didn't, well, either way, we need it resent. So if there is anybody who hasn't received their season card, then please do make contact with us and we will get that resolved. But I've only, to my knowledge, had one person who's contacted us direct on that. But well, it's come to my desk anyway. It's landed on my desk.
Okay. Last question as well. The designs on the cards seem to be two different designs. Might be really silly question, but is there a reason for that? I
don't know. I'm not aware of that. I know that we had different types of cards for different colours for different age groups and so on, but I don't know about two different types of badge.
For example, I've got an example here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not going to show, is it? One says thank you for your support, and one says every minute, every kick, every minute, every game.
I don't know what I wasn't involved.
So I don't know what's happened there, or if there's an issue with that. Also, season ticket wallets, are we expecting them to be available anytime soon?
I don't know what the answer is to that, Dan, but I will find out and come back to you before the end. Well, tomorrow, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
Thank you.
I'm conscious of the time. We did say 90 minutes. We're virtually there. Has anyone got anything pressing, or should we wrap it up there? I have a couple more small points, but I'll mail them separately to you, Tom, and everyone else. I'll just copy in the things I didn't get around to.
Yeah, I've got a couple, but again, I'm quite happy to send an email into Tom.
Can we just agree next meeting date then?
Yeah, so it's just 4 weeks work for people, and I kind of agree with Ron, 3 weeks might be a bit too soon. The physical meeting was longer than that, but I think these work well, and 4 weeks is fine for me. I chatted to Kerry about it. He seemed okay. Anyone object?
No, 4 weeks is fine for me.
Yeah,
fine for
4
me.
weeks time.
Let's
Lovely.
go for that then. Whatever that is.
It's the 30th of September then.
Thank you very much. I'll be away.
Which actually, I'm probably not going to be here either for that one. So can I suggest we put it back to the first Thursday in October?
That sounds great. Yes, let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. And thanks, Tom, for coming on and answering all the questions. Speak to you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.